everyone, and thank you so much for joining. Who's been like with us from the morning, and they've been like attending session one after another. So thank you for being with us. And this session is very special because we will be discussing that how we can transform this academia to what Dr. Justin say is Pracademia, because most of the time these theories and academic are so, I would say, theoretical that it gets difficult to get it into practicality. So we'll talk about it, and we are so honored to be joined by Dr. Justin James Kennedy. He's a TEDx speaker, neuroplastician, and coach specializing in neurosciences. So I know that if he has a lot of too many things on his introduction, if I keep on going on introducing, it will take 5 minutes. But before, I'll just give also a little bit information that he is also the founder of Institute of Organizational Neurosciences, and he helps a lot of people, especially on PhDs, and doing a lot of work for neurosciences. So thank you so much, Dr. Justin, for joining us. It's really an honor to have you with us.
It's exciting to be here. Your work at Psychology Talks is groundbreaking, Ambreen, and I'm looking forward to you having a meeting with the dean and we can get the show on the road.
Yes, I'm so excited thank you for helping me finding the right program, right people. I'm also enjoying my stay at your NPN Hub. That's the community of the neuroscientists. It's always so learning. Sometimes like I cannot join because of the other engagement, but whenever I join, it's really enlightening, and it's really, insightful to learn about the neurosciences and what's happening in the field right now. So I'm so excited to hear from you about today's session also, because I know this is close to your heart. This academia to Pracademia.
Close to my brain.
I love that term. It's like, Pracademia. When I actually posted, a lot of people just said that this term is really great. So how did you actually came up with this term?
Well, I didn't actually. And the term has been around, I don't know, for maybe 50 years or so.
Oh.
The thinking around the term Pracademia is designed for practitioners to find professional solutions for people that aren't in the library or the laboratory. They are here to have space to learn from each other. Hi, Valerie. Good to see you here. The work as a pracademic is somebody who sits on the shoulders of academics. They are not different. They are just better. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They're no way better, but they are more interested in the practical applications, Ambreen. And I'd like to quickly tell a story about my journey into Pracademia. So I was doing my PhD in psychology, and one rainy day, actually it wasn't a rainy day, it was a very sunny day in Cape Town in South Africa. I was riding a motorbike, and a driver who had been drinking swerved around the corner and knocked me off the bike. And I flicked through the sky like a gymnast, landed on my head, and ended up in a coma. And that process became a book, Brain Reboot, from coma to professor. And the journey wasn't as that simple. After the coma, I had to learn to walk and talk and control my emotions. I mean, it was terrible. Hi, Barbara. And it was very, very stressful and emotionally deliberating. And the PhD in psychology, I started to ask myself why my brain wasn't doing what my mind was saying. And I saw there was this mismatch. And I wasn't interested into like research the brain. I was more interested to research what the brain does when I'm trying to do stuff. So I had a very good occupational therapist, and I said to her, we need to start a new discipline of the neuro-occupational therapist. And she said, I think it's not the occupational therapy, I think you want to be speaking about neuroplasticity. And she said, and I think you are going to be a neuroplastician. Anyway, that's way back. So what happened
Yeah.
in the journey to there? I then completed a doctoral program in applied neuroscience. We looked at the neuroplasticity involved in the functional brain in occupational and professional settings. And we looked at how you can train your brain to change your mind to heal your heart.
Wow, that's amazing. That's very amazing. I know, like, especially when we talk about, I mean, your journey is quite inspiring. Basically, it's really fascinates me that how we can actually train our brain to actually, listen to your heart and then pursue further. But what's happening, like if you look at the current education system, that the way it
Mhm.
is happening, it's too much focused on kind of learning in a same way, right, which may not help student, like at whatever the age, they may not help them to use their brain in a proper way or to the fullest. So what do you think, what are the challenges and how we can overcome them?
Sure. Education is so interesting. The first thing, that education is prehistoric.
Mm,
Education needs to catch up. AI is going to be teaching our children by the time this conference ends, um, and Bryn. So we're in for a
yeah,
reboot in education so much.
absolutely.
Education still has people sitting in classrooms. It still has people sitting and raising their hands. I believe that my education was an experience of terror. I was terrified for my teachers. I was always about to get,
Yeah,
corporal punishment for something. But I think, but I think, education shouldn't be a terror. It should be a time for humor. Education works when the brain is having fun, when it is a playful, engaging, when you want to learn. So the first thing is that the brain has to be ready for learning. Having children go to the class so early in the morning, I think, is a really bad idea. When I was young, and maybe you remember too, Ambrina, is that when you wake up in the morning, you got all this energy. You want to run around and you want to kick a
yeah,
ball and you want to play around and you want to get that energy out so that you can focus. So my belief is that school should start in the late morning sometime, and
yeah,
the playground should be the classroom. And
absolutely, yes.
yeah, and I think
That's
that's where all the real learning happens. I mean, I think back to my schooling, I mean, what do I remember? When I remember playing, sports, I remember, learning to surf. I remember all the girls because we were a co-ed class. And
mm,
I remember just being terrified from the teachers.
yeah,
And it doesn't really educate. So education really needs to catch up.
yeah,
Really, really, really the simple techniques that I like to use in the education space first is the Pomodoro technique. Breen, do
yeah,
you know what that is?
yes, yes, absolutely. But I would like you to actually explain to our audience. Yes.
Okay, the Pomodoro technique is something that Ambreen knows very well, and she is going to make me define it now. Okay, but
Yeah,
the
if
Pomodoro
you do that, I can do
technique
it.
basically suggests you got to have sprints of learning. I
Yeah,
think it's 25 minutes or something. I
yeah,
just think it's
yeah,
about half an hour. And I was in a recent presentation, and in fact today, and I said to the person, can we have a break now? But it's gone 30 minutes, and they said, no, just keep going. And I wanted to say, I don't think you are the princess of the Pomodoro technique. But
yeah.
anyway, I
Yeah,
don't know. But Ligia said a note there. I
yeah,
didn't see what it was.
okay.
But anyway, there's lots of
Yeah, she
comments.
said that
But
it's,
another thing that's very important, Umbreen, is to get the blood flowing during the education. And what is a very good idea is to get children to sit with
yes.
1 inch above their seat so that they are
Yeah,
actually like levitating for about 30 seconds. It gets the blood going through the body. It gets the brain oxygenated so that you can do some thinking. So there's lots of little hacks like that I think are important. And I really believe that it's got to be fun first and foremost. Otherwise, you don't remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that, like, these kind of, especially Pomodoro technique, you just said that, we need to take a gap between the activities. And you said like around 25 to 30 minutes. And that's exactly how it is. That we need to actually give that space, do something with full focus, take some rest, and then do that. And I was just like, Andrew Haberman, actually, there was a video also, and his study shows that, which is also, he said, that's the called gap effect. Gap effect shows the importance of the rest and the breaks that we take. Is basically what we do is when we keep full focus on one task, then our mind is like, give this attention. But when we take the gap, take the rest, we see that when we are not doing anything, the neuron itself actually makes the path to and make it stronger. So it's like, when we take the rest, when we are not doing this, like our brain automatically is creating those neural paths to gain mastery over it. So this is also very fascinating. It just helps define Pomodoro technique. I want to ask that, like, since you are dealing with the all like PhD students, and so mostly like your work is related to the higher studies, right? So how that education needs to be kind of changed, because I know that there's still lots of things, especially when we write the thesis and these kind of academic writing, these papers, it's still kind of try to put you in the box. Like, you need to give some evidence from the theories only. So it's sometimes, to me, when I write these kind of papers, it seems like limiting my creativity. But I want to hear from you that how these can be changed.
So the question, as I understand, is to understand what should happen in tertiary education.
Yes.
Hi, Mary. It's good to see you, my friend. It's so nice to have you here. Mary is a key part of our institutional function of education at the Institute of Organizational Neuroscience. So Mary has published some really important work in the environment of memory reconsolidation. So when it comes to education, Mary is your man or your woman, or she. But Mary is incredibly useful in the PhD space, and she supports the PhD candidates with us. And memory reconsolidation is such an important area, and I won't get lost in that because that's Mary's area, and I'll say things that I'll regret. But in the higher education, I think it's actually everywhere. I think education needs to move away from remembering the capital of Japan or whatever, which is Tokyo, by the way. I think it needs to move away from that kind of irrelevant knowledge, and it needs to work towards critical thinking skills. And I've been doing some work with an American university, Bryn, and who was saying to them, what do you do to test if a person's PhD has been written by AI or not? And we had this really wonderful conversation about the Google test. Have you come across the Google interview test, Ambreen?
No, I haven't done it.
So if you apply to work at Google, they give you many questions, but one of the questions is, if you were shrunk down to the size of a little toothpick or something, and you were put into a blender, and there's this big blender, and you're in this blender, what would you do?
That's very interesting.
What would you do? So, like, you're in this blender. So
basically what I would do. Just maybe.
So what would you do? What would you do?
I will just, because there is since we are the size of the, let's say, toothpick or something, so I'll just try to get inside, just like the horizontal beneath the blade. So like when it runs, it wouldn't affect. That's what
So,
I
so,
would
you-
do.
so,
I don't know.
so here's the thing. The question was,
Okay.
what would you do?
Yeah.
It wasn't you are stuck in the blender. It
Yeah.
wasn't you can't get out of the blender. It is what would you do?
Oh.
And so the first question that Google asks is to see the critical thinking that goes on. So
Ah.
maybe you'd have lunch. Maybe you'd watch TV. Maybe you'd get out. What would you
Yeah.
do? So
Yeah.
the conversation we were having with this university in the States was, how do you have a
Wow.
viva? How do you have a
Mm.
live presentation of the person? So they've
Wow.
written this great thesis. How do you know it's their work? Well, there's no ways
Mm.
of knowing. The only way to know is if you give them the Google Blender test, and you ask them to
Yeah.
take their work and apply it to a different content, to a different context, and see if they can apply their thinking and critique the new environment. So you
Wow.
can't fake that. You got to be able
Yeah.
to do it in the Viva. And if you
Mm.
can't do it, well, then you fail. And the university failed the whole grade of looking at this. And they
Oh
didn't
my
know what
God.
to do because all these PhDs are now failed. So they had to like say, well, you could go and prepare again and come back and get ready to answer the
Wow.
Google test. So
Yeah.
education is in a crisis, Ambreen, and I
Yeah.
think it's about time. Education is like caveman quality. We teaching people like they were still trying to rub sticks together to make fire. And
Yeah.
AI has taken over, and we no longer need fire because we've just been fired, and we now have to
Yeah.
justify our existence. So
Yeah.
critical problem solving skills and creativity.
Yeah.
Those are the
So
two things I think.
yeah. So how can we actually instill these things into the system? Because now the system is going on the track which doesn't train like students to develop these skills.
Well, I think we should burn down all the schools and make the children go study in the garden. So that's
Yes.
what I would do, but I don't think that's
Yes.
going to work out so well. I don't really know, Ambreen. I'm not in the
Yeah.
classes with schools. I'm not managing badly behaved children because all children have lost discipline now. Just
Yes.
managing a class is a crisis. You have to be more of a policeman than a teacher
Mhm.
now because children have lost all their respect and discipline, which is in itself a whole crisis. So
Yes.
education needs to start with emotional regulation. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you can't get these little people to concentrate, they're never going to learn. So
Yeah.
hacking their brains to get them to pay attention. I think one of the key skills, Ambreen, is storytelling.
Yes.
Because if you tell a good story and you write a good book,
Yeah.
you will get people to pay attention. I'm just
Yes.
teasing. No book needed, Josephine. I
Mhm.
was just kidding about that. But
Sorry.
it
Yeah.
really is knowing the architecture of a story so that
Yeah.
you get people to pay attention and ask questions because that's where the learning happens. It's not in the speaking, but it's
Yeah.
in the asking of those questions. You learn by asking, not by listening.
Absolutely. I love this. I really love the way you actually um, you explain so easily that we understand that what are the problem and how to pinpoint. I know that this is the topic that of course we need to amplify and we need to build more awareness about it. But we're just keeping these sessions short because a lot of people cannot stay for long, especially for the virtual events. If we have those in-person event, people can stay longer. So I know we can go on and on this talk, but before we actually close the show, what are the best way to reach out to you?
The best way to reach out to me is to shout and say hello, or
Yes.
type in the note, or you can go to my
Yeah.
website, professorkennedy.com. It's
Okay.
got
Yeah.
a
That's
very
great.
fun animation on it, and I'd love to hear
Yes.
what you guys think about it. When they made an animation on me, it's too cute. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in doing a professional degree based on your work rather than some stuffy professor's opinion, let me
Yes.
know. And
Yes.
I have a way to help you find the right program, help you get to do the research that is your work. We can get in, we have worked with several universities, and it is quite possible to get through and complete a quality professional doctorate in a couple of years. So you won't spend a decade in the library with me. So professorkennedy.com, Bryn. I'm
Yeah.
also people who want to know about the application of how we're using neuroscience as practitioners, how we're learning about neuroplasticity and becoming neuroplasticians.
Mhm.
Please come join us at the NPN Hub, which
Yeah.
is
This is, yeah. I just,
npnhub.com.
yeah. I
NPN is short for neuroplastician because nobody can spell that. But
just,
but it
yes.
doesn't matter. We hope to have you join us. We have lots of open events. Bryn, you're doing an event soon, aren't you?
Yes, I mean, I haven't actually worked on it, but I'm part of like brain pods. Like you're doing amazing
Oh
work with
yes,
this.
that's
Yeah.
so
So this
cool of
is
you.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
these brain pods are amazing, and I'm really enjoying this community very well because the one thing that I really like about that in community is like all the neuroscientists there, and we learn a lot from this. Basically, all these
Mm.
things are amazing. And the other thing is like I'm also enjoying like working with you. It's basically it's really important because you help me connect with those universities which I never thought of actually they exist. So this is a very important thing. Okay, you just share with me this. The I'll just share it here in the
Now,
comments.
the important thing about the community, Umbrin,
Yeah,
is it's only for experts. So if people out
yeah,
there are not expert at learning, then you're not welcome. We're not trying to be neuroscientists. We're not trying to be professors. We live on a flat earth society in the NPN Hub where we all show up as experts and learners, as expert learners together. And we know that it's important to have fun. So
yeah.
that's how everyone starts the events, and we make sure that everybody has time to connect with a sense of well-being and a sense of humor. So we can make them play a game now, Umbrin, or we can save it for the next roundtable.
If you want to, if you can play here, but within like 2 to 3 minutes, then it's
No,
definitely we can do that.
I need more. I need more time
Oh,
to. I need more time. I'm just teasing. But
yeah.
what we can do, Breen, is that we can invite people into an open round table where they
Yeah,
can come and join us at no charge. If you go to npnhub.com
yeah,
now, I've opened up so that you can join for free, and we can then have a conversation, a roundtable. In fact, if anybody's interested, I also have a podcast channel, and I'm always looking for interesting people to speak to. So if you want to be on the podcast channel, drop me a note. Let's chat and let's have fun because that's how the brain learns best, as you know so
yeah.
well, Breen.
Yes, that's true. I mean, and that's what we actually want to tell the entire world that, especially the education system make is making learning so boring. And that's what actually I learned from my son, who actually just written a book about it, because he always complain about it that I don't like
Wow.
this kind of learning. And I was just not listening to him. And then I realized that yes, actually learning is, I mean, the way school teaches is really boring, and he doesn't like that way. And I think everywhere, even in the university and college, I was like, especially when we are given those kind of projects or the presentation, it's like, like our heart actually dread to actually work on this, that oh my god, that's another project that we need to give the extra deadline and everything. It takes out the fun of learning, and learning
Mm.
itself is so satisfying if we actually just think about it. So
The
we need
most
to,
the most the most fun children should do is doing their homework. That should be the most fun they have, because
yeah,
if their homework isn't fun, it means the learning isn't catching their attention. So they should be
absolutely.
building and playing and really engaging their creative brains. I'm
Yeah.
really love to read your son's book. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I will get your book as well because I didn't get the name, but now you showed it, so I'll just gonna
I
order
mean,
it. So
I'll
yeah.
actually give away a copy.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, it's called
Please do
Brain
that.
Reboot,
Yeah,
and
I will do that.
I'll happily give you a copy. You're
Sure,
one of
please
my
do that.
best friends. I can't wait for
Thank
you
you
to
so
start
much.
your PhD.
Yes, yes. And I'm also just looking forward to it. So, anyways, thank you so much for joining, sharing your insights and experience. It was really lovely having you with us. And I really, of course, as usual, I enjoyed chatting with you and talking to you. It's always enlightening. So, thank you so much for joining. And those who want to connect, please connect with him on this website. Just a second. Where did it go? So I just,
But Ambreen, I wanted to say thank you
yeah.
for your loving and professional style. You are a very engaging person. You
Mm.
have such an open heart and you have such a intelligent, interesting way of engaging. I really enjoy our conversations. I don't want to go. Don't finish the session. It's been too much fun.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much and hope to see you soon and with
Thank
the
you,
dean
Ambreen.
and with
Have
all
a
the
good
other things.
weekend. Have
Thank
a good
you.
weekend.
Okay.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye.